Hey guys, on this episode of EdTech, we're going to be talking about digital signage expos, content management, and Educause. All this on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Extron Electronics.
Hey guys, this is EdTech, episode 56, Because Educause.
This is EdTech.
This is EdTech, the monthly higher ed podcast. I'm your host, Bill O'Donnell. Today I'm joined by Mr. Ernie Bailey.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. We're also joined by Steve Chewie. Is it Stavar? Stavar, sorry about that.
That's good.
Chewie joins us from West Virginia. And we also have, as always, the illustrious Rob Raspberry from Drexel University. How are you, sir?
Doing great. You can sort of see I'm in a...
For those of us who are just joining, Rob is live on the floor at Educause, which is a higher ed tech summit. It's an annual show. This year they're holding in Philly, which for Rob is like, I don't know, wake up, roll out of bed, and there you are.
Try to not to get hit by a bus and walk across the street. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's Philly for you. So that going, as I say, we'll get to that in just a little bit. But first off, I actually wanted to talk with Chewie. Chewie, you're going to be actually doing a talk at the Digital Signage Expo in Las Vegas for 2018. Do you want to care to talk about what the topic's going to be, and then we'll kind of go from there?
Sure. So basically what we're talking about, part of the problem at educational higher ed institutions is we put screens on the wall and we have content planned for 30 days. And then what do we do after that? And where do we get that content? So Ron Santana from Townsend and I are co-presenting a session talking about where on your campus can you find information to serve your digital signage. At West Virginia University, about 95% of our content is live data into our system. So I don't want to say it's hands off for the other person and I that manage our 120 screens on campus, but we don't really have to worry about putting content on our screens.
Well, see, and that's actually a nice problem to have, because a lot of times when it comes with digital signage, a lot of manufacturers, that includes both the display manufacturers as well as the content players, and even the enterprise management software. They're like, oh yeah, we can build the whole thing out. It's like saying, hey, listen, we can build you a top of the line Lamborghini. It's the gas / the content that turns into the problem. So much so that if you've seen, there was the organization Infocom, which recently rebranded to Avixa, and it's one of those things that actually emphasizes it's both the content and the experience that actually matters. And like I said, you can build a multi-million-dollar system, but if you don't have the gas to drive the car, it's a bit of an issue. So, going from that, how do you guys get all your info, or at least do you? Is it more the folks know about the system so much, or they're aware of the system so much that it's easy to submit to them, or did you guys have to first kind of get your name out about things? How did you guys go about that?
Sure. So the system here at West Virginia University has been here for we're going on the 10-year hump. We're kind of on the other side of 10 years. What we realized initially, we did 10 screens and starting to find content and what can we pull from, and that was just us centrally trying to find content to put on the screens. And then we realized real quick that if this kind of took off and got to the 120 screens plus that we are now, that there's no way we're going to be able to manage all that content. So what we really did was we have communicators based in all of our schools and colleges. We have 14 currently at our main campus. And using those communicators, my partner here has created simple web forms so they can put in a full page graphic that's kind of flipping behind me. They can also just put in text. They can put a title and a description with a start date end time. That all feeds to XML. And then through our content management system, we look at that XML and use filters and sorts and all that gobbledygook to literally say, okay, this message only goes on this screen or these 4 screens in this building. With that system, we average about 400 unique items a day that I don't necessarily see every day. I do have a thing in my queue that goes through, so I can say, oh, we need to fix this, or this isn't 100%. So that's we really we work with the schools and colleges. They have communications out there. They want to talk to their specific students and their constituents. And give them that ability.
It's for them. They go, listen, I get it, but we want our students or our graduates and things like that to see specific content. It's one of those things where, actually, this is a question, and maybe you can answer it, maybe not. When it comes to the actual signage itself, did you guys go and roll out the signage yourself, or did you have like the colleges pay for them, or is that is that a little bit beyond the scope of your stuff?
Sure. So initially, let me step back a little bit. So there's 2 of us at WVU, and we literally do everything for digital signage. So we find the hardware that's out there. We figure out what we're going to use to standardize our screens. We standardize our players. So we have a package basically, so we don't have to worry about people going to buy and then servicing all these different computers and makes and models.
Oh yeah.
So
It's one, yeah, no, I was going to say, it's one of those things. A lot of times we do have like faculty members who go say, oh, I found a deal on this. And you go, you can do that, but this is our university standard. And for you guys, it probably saves a lot of headaches down the line too.
Yeah. So the other day I had a screen that wasn't acting properly. The touch wasn't working on it. So I literally just took another screen, replaced the screens, and I'll deal with the warranty issue. So instead of that, so centralizing it that way too, is that we handle all the warranty issues. They don't have to worry about that. They're already busy enough. Not that we're not busy, but it's way easier for like 2 people to handle that stuff.
As I say, the other thing, just going down the line with this, you said, you look at everything via, like, say, an XML code. Did you guys build your own program, or do you use, as I say, do you use like a manufacturer's central management system, or did you guys just hire a Python programmer and went, here you go, create?
Sure. So we're currently, like I said, we're over the 10-year hump, and we're on our 3rd content management solution. There's been different reasons why we've switched from A to B to C. What we've done is, so those web forms that I was talking about all feed a SQL database through Cold Fusion, and then we turn around and spit that out as an XML. So basically, we've created our asset manager. So we're managing the assets. And the really nice thing about that is that if something happens with a content management solution, we have all of it in our own databases. So we don't, like, if we have to make a switch, it's not going to be as painful. It's going to be painful, but it's not going to be as painful because we don't have to move all of our assets as well. Like initially, with all of our content management solutions, like when we had 10 screens, they just connected directly to a SQL database. And it's as we go along, right? So like, we're trained in one thing, but we end up doing 16 other things. So learning that at the time, you can only have a limited number of computers actually attached to that SQL database. So we're like, oh, why isn't this getting the information? Oh, because it's not connected to the database. So learning, and that's kind of where we push to, okay, well, what if we made this as XML, and then we don't have to have the screen specifically on our internal domain because it's just hitting a web page. So like that's the growing and the always having to learn. A lot of people, I talk to students, obviously, because I'm at a campus, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to get out of school. I'm like, school, you always have to be saying what I'm doing isn't good enough, and there has to be a better solution. And it may not be the right solution, but it's better than what I'm doing now, and continually changing. And kind of in that is we don't change software companies every 2 years, but about every 2 years, I literally take everything in my content management solution, I kind of store it away and start from scratch. There's things that you've learned over those 2 years. There's new tricks and twists and buttons that that your software manufacturer has given you. So it's horrible. I don't want to redo it every 2 years, but it's best for the system.
No, but it's one of those things that you want it to be, you want the stuff to kind of look like it's growing and adapting. I won't lie, like I say on our campus, we do have, at least in our student union, there's a very basic digital signage program, and it's run by our hospitality folks and everything, and they're nice enough. But at the same time, I look at it and I walk by every time and I just cringe, because for them, they tend to do just oh, look here, we loaded up PowerPoint and we gave it the basic PowerPoint changes and everything. And it kind of reminds you of like the old basic cable access TV channel. And does it accomplish the goal that they need to do? Yeah, but do the students really pay attention to it? Not really, because the content is up there for like, I don't know, I've actually timed it once or twice. I think it's up there for like 10 seconds a piece, and just if anything on the just looking behind you and everything, I think your images stay up there for no more than what, 5 seconds?
Okay, so I'm completely cheating for what's here. This is literally just slideshow out of Windows. But we do. I mean, so I always tell people to look at digital signage as a billboard that you're going 80 miles an hour past. You basically have 5 seconds to grab and get that information out to somebody, unless you have interactivity where they can touch for more information and get more of that information and be able to really digest it. The problem is that if you put up something and it's up for too long and it doesn't pertain to half of your student body, well, now you're kind of alienating half of your student body. So kind of my push here is it's part of your communication plan. And I think that's what kind of hinders a lot of universities as well, is that there's not this centralized communication marketing plan or com plan. And the digital signage at West Virginia University, we call the info stations, isn't the only one-stop shop. If you're making something just for my screens, you're not communicating properly. I kind of say it's like the Nike swoosh, right? Like you see the Nike swoosh, and for the people that are older, they go, oh, just do it. It doesn't say just do it underneath it. It's just been embedded in you that you see the swoosh, you go, oh, just do it. Or the Jordan logo, right? Air Jordan. So it's, and that's not to take away from digital signage at all, or getting that content out there. I just see it as an additional avenue, because people still need to see something like 7 times before they're going to act on it.
And it's one of those things where you have to kind of, part of this also turns into, you have to make something that actually grabs their attention. And like I said, I'm not gonna lie, the slideshow behind you is very eye-catching, but at the same time, you've also worked it out where you have a good, you're using obviously the school colors, but there's a good contrast that just, you see it and you just go, oh, what's that? Whereas, other folks, if they go and say, well, we're going to do it the way we want it. And it's one of those things where it kind of makes it, it's the asylum, the inmates are running the asylum, and in which they go, well, it makes sense to us. And they're like, you're not a marketing guy. You're not you're not an advertising folks. I'm not saying that, you're all the folks who are loading up the players have to be advertising majors or anything like that. But you do have to have like a little bit of eye candy to get the stuff. And
sure. Yeah. And we went through a large rebrand at the university maybe 3 years ago to really focus and kind of bring everybody back on a single page, so that, messaging from all the departments still look like it's coming from the same university. And that's something that was not done through digital signage, that was way higher up in all of our print pieces and everything. You can see us at a trade show. We were just at the FFA convention last week with a 10 by 20 booth. And if you couldn't tell that it was West Virginia from 4 booths away, we're doing it wrong. I mean, we do a really, really good job of making sure that, the flying WV is properly done. It's the right flying WV. And that's kind of why we've centralized our system, is that people, like what's going over my other shoulder is full page graphics, but I can, put the kibosh on it, and we help build that brand pack so that our School of B&E has the assets they need to make the graphics so they're within brand.
So that's cool. It's, as I say, it's definitely one of those things. I wish I had the same pedigree that you guys did. Unfortunately, at least at my school, William Patterson's colors are orange and black. And
Halloween year round.
Sure, we'll go with that too. Unfortunately, it's the same colors as Princeton. So everyone looks and goes, oh, is that? I'm like, not quite. Well,
Sure.
Technically, William Patterson did attend Princeton. So that counts, right? No.
Calf.
Oh, I could do this bits all day. Anyway, so once again, Chewie, if anything, it is a pleasure chatting. As I say, it's a pleasure chatting with you. I do want to get to our other guests and everything. As I say, such as the illustrious Mr. Rob Raspberry, who's probably been waiting and enjoying the fine company of all the folks in that obviously very giant cavernous hall, which I think is what, the Philadelphia Convention Center?
You are correct. Yes,
Ooh.
we are in the Philadelphia Convention Center.
Good times. Have you seen anything? Go ahead.
Well, I basically was going to say it's been a while since I attended an Educause event, and the last time, which was a few years ago that I went, it really seemed to focus on higher education practices, and there was a little smattering of AV and some IT.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's been a big change, obviously, because I think they've caught on to the trend. So actually, even on their page that highlights it, it basically says it is an AVIT centric convention. So there's a lot of tech here. There's a lot more tech than I've seen in a long time. So there's Extrons here, a lot of lecture capture places are here, Microsoft's here, Google, all these companies. And, so I'm here in the exhibit hall, which is far behind me. I'm in sort of the lunch area here. But it's actually been very interesting. One of the most useful sessions that I attended was about learning space design. Mm-hmm. And basically there's a website called Space that you may be familiar with. Mm-hmm. And basically you upload, your classrooms and talk about them and, mm-hmm. and other people take a look at it. Well, so there's an initiative, I guess, at Educause, and they have this, it's sort of, I'm not going to say it's a roadmap, but they have what's called a learning space rating system. Mm-hmm. And they have a document, and it goes down from everything from lighting to tech to space to capture, all kinds of stuff, accessibility, mm-hmm. and you have a little point rating system, and it's evolving and everything else. But the session was had at least 50 people in there, and all from British Columbia to USC, all over the place. It was actually great, and to see the active learning spaces, the evolution of it, and the focus seeming to switch to it was very interesting. So, I mean, that pretty much was one of the highlights here.
Well, very cool. As I say, Ernie, do you guys, as I say, now just out of curiosity, Rob, this probably comes in part, a lot of schools tend to have learning spaces committees or learning spaces groups and everything like that. When you were there, when you were at the meeting, did you look and just go, "Finally, I've heard these things. We've been talking about this. We're not the only ones we're not the only ones in the world talking about this." Good. Only because I know from my own experience going to, maybe not Educause, but going to CCUMC, other folks going, "You have this problem too? Oh, good. I'm not insane."
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. And, if we go to any of the larger, conventions, we sort of oh, yes, we are all having the same problem. Mm-hmm. But this time it's a work group, and it's sort of, getting feedback from all different institutions to try to, I hate to say it, start some type of standard. Oh no. Yeah, right. To get people, to understand that in these, in higher ed learning spaces, the landscapes of, so that we can have our students effectively learn, be comfortable in their space, and have a happy higher ed experience. So it was the first time I've seen a big work group. That was the difference.
See, now this is one of those things that I like. It's great to hear that, and the other part of that is there are times where I really wish we could just drag a certain number of faculty members and be like, "You need to pay attention to this." And Rob, I'll just kind of jump back and forth with this and everything. Ernie, you and I probably have dealt with faculty members that you look and you go and say, "You know what? I could probably get them to understand this, but they're very. It's one of those. How do I coax the cat into the room kind of deal. The thing I've usually used a lot of times is we'll do lunch and learns. Because nothing will gather faculty quicker than a free lunch, especially if it's a catered one.
Right.
So, just out of curiosity, Ernie, have you had chit chats or at least had the learning spaces chats with some of the faculty and just kind of said, listen, these are some of the features or these are some of the things that we want to accomplish, or it's really more of, hey, this is the room, learn.
We actually have a committee that reviews that. We meet once a month.
Mm-hmm.
We look at both the types of learning spaces that we have, the technology we want to put in there, as well as technology challenges we're having in our existing spaces. So, it kind of encompasses all of it and lets everyone know, if we're having problems in a classroom or a group of classrooms, I can explain in there to it's both technology people, it's our faculty, and it's our developers, our educational developers. So we all get together and meet as a group and discuss, where we want to go as a campus, what's working, what's not working, what have we seen at other campuses, what have we talked to people about, and then we can bring that in and do it. And we've been having some issues with a new teaching area we're doing for our ophthalmology department. All the eye doctors, and they're doing a lot of stuff in 3D, and just making it work right. And 3D seems to be going away in the AV world, but it's coming around in the ocular surgery world. So we're trying to find, current technology that'll work with what they're wanting to do. And, we've got a staff member going to another school to look at exactly how they're doing their 3D stuff. It's very similar to what we're wanting to do. So we send people out, we look at these things, and we bring them back and we discuss them. Go
ahead.
Like I say, I've been on enough groups where we've designed new teaching facilities. We were one of the early innovators for active learning and team-based learning. And my group got together and we looked at there were 3 or 4 other places that were doing similar things to what we wanted to do. We came in, took several ideas. They also told us what wasn't working at those places. So we eliminated those and we built what turned out to be, a very nice system. And we've now got version 2 of it in another space. We've done it successfully enough and done it in-house enough where they trust us to let us try the new technologies in live spaces.
And that's the thing. It's one of those. I've seen it at 1 or 2 other schools where they just go, well, no, this is our standard. This is how it is. And they just kind of roll it out and everyone kind of rolls with it. But there seems to be a better collaboration when you talk with, when you end up talking with the faculty or at least bringing it up to them. One of the things that we have here is recently we started changing over our doc cams. And the only 2 places I know of where doc cams are still heavily used are higher ed and pharmaceuticals. But the big thing is that for us, we changed it over from Wolf Vision document cameras, which are very nice. They're also a little bit pricey. They're pricey. But you know what though? No, they're not bad. They're very solid.
No, they are.
Whenever we've had any problems with them, we send it back to them. They fix it. It's better than brand new. However, for us, we've changed over to a system called HoverCam, and the reason being is we did that is because it's actually a USB peripheral, and so when the faculty want to go and we originally started rolling it out and they said, hey, the document camera, it just brings up the PC. We were like, yeah, it's because you have to open up the app on the PC, and we said there's actually a lot of features, and they went, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And it was one of those things of, in order to garner higher adoption rates, what we did was we actually started setting up little lunch boot camps. And, there were some faculty that kind of, did the dine and dash routine, but, that's the expected. But there were others who said, oh, wait a minute. Wait, I can take a snapshot of my formula and then I take the snapshot and I can load it up to Blackboard as part of my curriculum. We're like, yeah. It's like, oh, that saves me way more time than having to go to a scanner and this and that. And they're like, it's one of those, they, faculty are I'm not going to say that they're in their own world, but in this case, you have to tell them that there's features that they can use. You can't tell them that, oh, you have to use this. It's because they'll go, well, no, I've been doing my curriculum for, longer than you've been alive. Yeah. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to work it through with them.
Yeah. I work with an instructor who thinks chalk is the best thing ever developed for a classroom. And his dean is insisting he do everything, recorded, loaded up in the Blackboard, as well as video conferencing to other campuses and things like that. So it makes it a challenge. So yeah, we do what you do. We look at what he's doing, and then we sit down with him and say, here's a tool we have that we think you would like, and we think you can use. As we try to say it in such a way where we're not saying, this is real easy. Even you can do it. We guide him in, and he does. We've got him using a document camera instead of a chalkboard now.
All right.
The fact that he can save it in steps, he really likes that.
Well, that's good. I will leave you with this fun gag on this one. Recently with that hovercam, a lot of folks have liked it, except our music department. And our music department suddenly said, hey, is there a way where we can zoom this out any further? And I kind of said, no, you've kind of extended this to the arm. Reason being is that they wanted to show the entire music score of something. And I kind of looked at them and I said, yeah, you're gonna have to get like an overhead camera or something. Or you're just gonna have to, scan one by one. But it's one of those you give and take. But yeah. So unfortunately, that is all the time we have. Chewie, where can folks find you online? Is it via Twitter or LinkedIn or? Yeah.
So personally, I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Twitter. I don't do. It's more personal. But if anybody wanted to, reach out to me or what we're doing here at WVU, it's InfoStations, INFOSTATIONIONS, .wvu.edu, and that'll get you to our landing page, or the same thing at mail.wvu.edu. There's the two of us that we go through that email all the time. So, and part of our land grant mission at the university is to help spread the wealth and continue conversations like this and make digital signage for our side better at all campuses.
Oh, fair enough. Ernie, where can they find your delightful self at?
You can usually find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. And Rob?
Same, I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me.
Fair
Just
enough.
go on the drexel.edu website under IT and you'll find me. So.
All right. Fair enough. That is all the time we have. If anything, I wanted to say thank you, gentlemen. We will hopefully see you guys next month. And let's just say, that is that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.